This is the story of a people crushed by chains, and the God who remembered his promise. The Hebrews had become strangers in a land that once welcomed them. They were forced into back-breaking labor, building cities they would never live in under the whips of taskmasters who showed no mercy. And the people groaned in their affliction. They cried out, not just in pain, but in hope that the God of their fathers still heard. And the scripture says, God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. This is the story of how God sent a deliverer, Moses, to deliver the Hebrews out of Egypt and the hands of Pharaoh to the land he had promised their forefathers. But before we begin, if you love powerful Bible stories brought to life, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. That way, you won't miss the next chapter in this epic journey of faith, freedom, and God's power. Many years after Joseph had passed, a new Pharaoh ruled Egypt, one who knew nothing of Joseph or how he had saved the land in days of famine. This Pharaoh grew afraid of the Israelites, for they had multiplied greatly and were strong. He feared they might rise against Egypt in time of war, so he enslaved them, setting taskmasters over them with harsh labor. But the more they were afflicted, the more they multiplied. Pharaoh's fear turned to cruelty. He gave a terrible command to all his people. Every son that is born to the Hebrews ye shall cast into the river, he said, but every daughter shall ye save alive. During this time, a Levite man took a Levite woman as his wife. She became pregnant and bore a son. When she saw how beautiful and healthy he was, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she made a basket from reeds, coated it with tar and pitch to make it watertight, and placed her son inside. She laid the basket in the reeds along the Nile River. She left the baby there, knowing that Pharaoh's daughter would see him. The baby's sister stood at a distance, watching to see what would happen. Soon, Pharaoh's daughter came down to the river to bathe. Her servants walked along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her maid to retrieve it. When she opened it, she saw the child, and the baby wept. Her heart was moved with compassion. "This is one of the Hebrews' children," she said. Then the child's sister stepped forward and asked, "Shall I go and call a nurse from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Go." The girl ran and brought a Hebrew nurse, not knowing it's the baby's own mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." The woman took her own son and cared for him. When the boy grew older, she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "Because I drew him out of the water." Moses grew up as a prince in Pharaoh's court, trained in all the wisdom of Egypt. He wore fine linen, walked among nobles, and spoke the language of kings. Yet though he was raised in luxury, he never forgot his people, the Hebrews, who served as slaves under the heavy hand of Egypt. One day, when he was grown, Moses went out to see their burdens for himself. He walked through the work sites where men bent under the weight of bricks, and women toiled without rest. The cries of his people stirred something deep in him. Then he saw an Egyptian taskmaster striking a Hebrew man with cruel blows. Moses looked this way and that. Seeing no one was near, he acted. In a burst of righteous anger, he struck the Egyptian down and killed him. He quickly buried the body in the sand, hoping no one had seen. The next day he returned and saw two Hebrews arguing. He stepped in to stop them and said to the one who struck his brother, "Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow?" But the man turned and glared at him. "Who made thee a prince and a judge over us?" he said. "Intendedst thou to kill me, as thou killed the Egyptian?" Moses' heart froze. The word had spread. What he had done in secret was now known, and soon it reached Pharaoh's ears. When Pharaoh heard of the murder, his wrath burned hot, and he sought to kill Moses. Fearing for his life, Moses fled Egypt and escaped into the wilderness. He wandered far until he came to the land of Midian, a dry and rugged place. Weary from his journey, he sat down beside a well to rest. Now the priest of Midian, named Reuel, had 7 daughters. They came to the well to draw water and fill the troughs for their father's flocks. But as they worked, a group of shepherds arrived and drove them away. Moses rose to his feet. Though a stranger in a foreign land, he would not stand by. He defended the women, drove off the shepherds, and then helped water the flocks himself. When the daughters returned home earlier than usual, their father was surprised. "How is it that you came back so soon today?" They answered, "An Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and also drew water enough for us and watered the flock." Reuel said, "And where is he? Why is it that ye have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread." So Moses was brought into their home. Reuel welcomed him, and in time gave him his daughter Zipporah to be his wife. Moses lived among them, and Zipporah bore him a son. Moses called the child Gershom, saying, "I have been a stranger in a strange land." Many years passed, and Egypt continued in its cruelty. The children of Israel groaned under bondage and cried unto God to deliver them from the hands of Pharaoh and the Egyptians. Moses remained in Midian for many years, tending the flocks of his father-in-law, Reuel, also called Jethro, the priest of Midian. Far from Egypt, he walked the lonely paths of the wilderness, his past buried under silence and time. But though he was forgotten by Pharaoh, he was not forgotten by God. One day, Moses led the flock to the west end of the wilderness and came to the mountain of God, Horeb. As he moved through the rocky slopes, he saw a strange sight, a bush that burned with fire, yet was not consumed. He turned aside to look more closely, and when the Lord saw that he turned aside, God called to him from the midst of the bush, "Moses, Moses." And Moses said, "Here am I." The voice said, "Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground." Then the voice spoke again, "I am the God of thy father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon God. The Lord said, "I have surely seen the affliction of my people which are in Egypt, and have heard their cry by reason of their taskmasters, for I know their sorrows. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of that land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites." Moses listened in silence as the Lord continued, "Come now, therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt." But Moses was overwhelmed. He said, "Who am I that I should go unto Pharaoh, and that I should bring forth the children of Israel out of Egypt?" And God said, Certainly I will be with thee, and this shall be a token unto thee. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain. Still, Moses questioned, When I come unto the children of Israel, and shall say unto them, The God of your fathers hath sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, What is his name? What shall I say unto them? And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. And God further said, Thus shalt thou say unto them, The Lord God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Then the Lord told Moses to return to Egypt and gather the elders of Israel. He would stretch out his hand and strike Egypt with wonders. Go, the Lord said, and I will be with thy mouth. Though the call of God burned like fire in his spirit, Moses was still hesitant. He stood before the bush and said, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee. Then the Lord said, What is that in thine hand? Moses answered, A rod. Cast it on the ground, said the Lord, and he did, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. The Lord said, Put forth thine hand, and take it by the tail. And he took it, and it became a rod again. That they may believe, said the Lord, that the Lord God of their fathers hath appeared unto thee. The Lord gave Moses more signs, his hand becoming leprous and healed again, water turning to blood, to prove that he had been sent. Still, Moses said, O my Lord, I am not eloquent. I am slow of speech and of a slow tongue. The Lord replied, Who hath made man's mouth? Have not I the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with thy mouth, and teach thee what thou shalt say. But Moses pleaded, O my Lord, send, I pray thee, by the hand of him whom thou wilt send. And the anger of the Lord was kindled, yet he showed mercy. Is not Aaron the Levite thy brother? The Lord said. I know that he can speak well. Thou shalt speak unto him, and put words in his mouth, and he shall be thy spokesman. So Moses took his wife and sons, set them on a donkey, and returned to Egypt, carrying the rod of God in his hand. On the way, Aaron came out to meet him at the mount of God. When Moses told him all the words of the Lord and the signs he had been given, Aaron believed. Together they gathered the elders of the children of Israel. Aaron spoke the words the Lord had given, and Moses showed the signs. And the people believed. When they heard that the Lord had visited them and seen their affliction, they bowed their heads and worshipped. Then Moses and Aaron went into Pharaoh. They stood before the throne, bold with purpose. Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, they declared, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. But Pharaoh scoffed. Who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go. They pleaded again, but Pharaoh refused. Instead, he increased the burdens of the Israelites. He commanded the taskmasters, Ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. Yet the number of bricks shall not diminish. The people groaned. Their hope wavered. And Moses cried out to the Lord, Lord, wherefore hast thou so evil entreated this people? The Lord said to Moses, Now shalt thou see what I will do to Pharaoh, for with a strong hand shall he let them go, and with a strong hand shall he drive them out of his land. So Moses and Aaron stood again before Pharaoh, this time with a message that carried weight and warning. "The Lord God of the Hebrews hath sent us unto thee," they said, saying, "Let my people go, that they may serve me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Then the Lord gave Moses instructions. "When Pharaoh says to you, 'Prove yourselves by working a miracle,' then you shall say to Aaron, 'Take your staff and cast it down before Pharaoh, that it may become a serpent.'" They did as the Lord commanded. Aaron cast down his rod before Pharaoh and his servants, and it became a serpent. But Pharaoh called for his wise men and sorcerers, and they too cast down their rods, which also became serpents. Yet Aaron's rod swallowed up their rods. Still, Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved. Then came the first plague. Moses stood by the Nile and raised his staff. "Thus saith the Lord, In this shalt thou know that I am the Lord. Behold, I will smite with the rod that is in mine hand upon the waters, and they shall be turned to blood." And so it was. The waters turned to blood, fish died, and the river stank. The Egyptians could not drink it, yet Pharaoh's magicians did likewise, and his heart was hardened. He would not listen. 7 days passed. Then came frogs, brought up from the rivers to fill houses, ovens, and kneading bowls. Pharaoh cried, "Entreat the Lord, that he may take away the frogs from me, and I will let the people go." Moses prayed. The frogs died. But when Pharaoh saw relief, he hardened his heart again. Next came lice upon man and beast. The magicians could not replicate it. They said, "This is the finger of God." But Pharaoh would not listen. Then came swarms of flies. The land of Goshen, where the Israelites dwelt, was spared. Pharaoh said, "Go ye, sacrifice to your God in the land." But Moses replied, "We will go 3 days' journey into the wilderness." Pharaoh agreed, then changed his mind again. After that came the death of livestock, then boils, then hail that fell like fire from the sky. Trees shattered, crops were destroyed. Pharaoh said, "I have sinned this time. The Lord is righteous." But as soon as the storm ceased, he sinned yet more. Locusts came and devoured what little was left. Then came darkness, a thick, dreadful blackness for 3 days, yet light remained in the dwellings of the Israelites. Still, Pharaoh's heart was stone. The Lord said to Moses, "Yet will I bring 1 plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterward he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether." Then the Lord instructed Moses and Aaron to prepare the people for what was to come. "About midnight," the Lord said, "I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land shall die, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, even unto the firstborn of the maidservant, and all the firstborn of beasts." But to his people the Lord gave a way of escape. "This month," he said, "shall be unto you the beginning of months. In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb without blemish, a male of the first year. Each household was to keep the lamb until the 14th day, then kill it at twilight. And they shall take of the blood, said the Lord, and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door post of the houses. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and when I see the blood, I will pass over you." So Moses called all the elders of Israel and said, "Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and strike the lintel and the 2 side posts with the blood. And none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning." That night The Israelites did as they were commanded. They roasted the lamb with fire and ate it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They stood with shoes on their feet, staffs in hand, and their belts fastened, ready to leave in haste. And at midnight the Lord passed through Egypt. A great cry arose across the land, for the firstborn of every Egyptian household died, man and beast alike. Even Pharaoh's own son was struck down. No house of Egypt was untouched by grief. Then Pharaoh rose in the night, he and his servants and all his people. He called for Moses and Aaron in haste. "Rise up," he said, "and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go, serve the Lord as ye have said." The Egyptians urged the Israelites to leave quickly, saying, "We be all dead men." So the people took their dough before it was leavened and carried it in their kneading troughs upon their shoulders. They left Egypt in haste, a mixed multitude journeying together with flocks and herds. 430 years to the day after their fathers had entered Egypt, the children of Israel departed by the mighty hand of God. And the Lord said, "This day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations." The children of Israel set out from Egypt by ranks, marching not as slaves, but as a people redeemed. God led them, not by the shortest route, lest they see war and turn back, but through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. By day he went before them in a pillar of cloud, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light. So they moved by day and night, guided by the presence of the Lord. But Pharaoh's heart turned once more. When he heard that the Israelites had fled into the wilderness, he said, "Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us?" So Pharaoh made ready his chariot and took his army with him to chase and bring by the slaves he had freed 600 chosen chariots and all the power of Egypt. The dust rose behind them as they pursued the Israelites, overtaking them by the sea near Pihahiroth, before Baal-zephon. When the Israelites saw the Egyptian army marching toward them, they were filled with fear and cried out to the Lord. And they said to Moses, "Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? It had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians. But Moses stood firm. He said, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel, that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. All that night the Lord caused a strong east wind to blow, and the waters were divided. The sea stood up like walls on either side, and a dry path opened through the midst. The Israelites walked through on dry ground, while the pillar of cloud moved between them and the Egyptians, giving light to Israel, but casting darkness upon the enemy. Pharaoh's army pursued into the sea, but at dawn the Lord troubled their chariots. Wheels came off, and confusion spread among them. Let us flee, they cried, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians. Then the Lord said to Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians. And Moses did so. The waters returned and covered the chariots, the horsemen, and all the host of Pharaoh. Not one of them remained. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day. And when the people saw the great work the Lord had done, they feared him and believed. With Egypt behind them and the sea closed over their enemies, the children of Israel broke into song. Moses led the people in a hymn of triumph. I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. But soon the wilderness tested their joy. 3 days they traveled through the desert of Shur without water. When they came to Marah, they found water at last, but it was bitter. The people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? Moses cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree. When Moses cast it into the waters, they became sweet. There the Lord made a decree and a promise. If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. They camped at Elim, where 12 springs and 70 palm trees offered rest. But soon they journeyed onward into the wilderness of Sin. There hunger gripped the people, and they said, Would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in Egypt, for ye have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. The Lord said to Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or no. In the morning they found a fine flake-like thing on the ground. When they asked, What is it? Moses said, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. They called it manna. Each was to gather only what they needed for the day, but some disobeyed and kept it overnight, and it bred worms and stank. On the 6th day they gathered twice as much, for the 7th was a day of rest. The Lord said, See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath, therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Next they came to Rephidim, again no water. The people quarreled with Moses. Wherefore is this, they demanded, that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? Moses cried to the Lord, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. The Lord said, Go on before the people, and take in thine hand thy rod, and smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it. He did, and water flowed. But the trials were not over. Amalek came to fight against Israel in Rephidim. Joshua led the men to battle, while Moses stood on a hill with the rod of God. As long as Moses held up his hands, Israel prevailed. When he grew weary, Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on each side, until sunset. In the 3rd month after leaving Egypt, the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sinai. They pitched their camp at the foot of the mountain, and there the Lord called to Moses from the heights above. Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, the Lord said, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. Moses brought these words to the elders of Israel, and the people answered together, saying, All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. Then the Lord said to Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee. He told Moses to sanctify the people for 2 days, for on the third day the Lord himself would descend upon Mount Sinai in the sight of all. Boundaries were set. Take heed, the Lord warned, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall surely be put to death. On the morning of the third day the mountain shook. Thunder rolled, lightning flashed across the sky. A thick cloud rested upon the summit, and the blast of a trumpet grew louder and louder. The people trembled. Moses led them out from the camp to meet God, and they stood afar off at the base of the mountain. Mount Sinai was wrapped in smoke because the Lord descended upon it in fire. The mountain quaked violently. Then the voice of God thundered from the cloud, and he gave them his commandments. I am the Lord thy God, he declared, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. One by one he spoke the 10 words, which is the 10 commandments of God. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Honor thy father and thy mother. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not covet. The voice of the Lord was like thunder, and the people were afraid. They stood at a distance and said to Moses, Speak thou with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die. And Moses said, Fear not, for God is come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces, that ye sin not. Then Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was, and received more words, laws, judgments, instructions for living as a holy nation. And there, at Sinai, the covenant was made. Moses remained on Mount Sinai 40 days and 40 nights, receiving the law from God, commands carved in stone, and patterns for the tabernacle, where God would dwell among his people. But down below, impatience grew. When the people saw that Moses delayed, the people, impatient with Moses' delay on Mount Sinai, gathered around Aaron and demanded he create gods to lead them, as they were unsure of Moses' fate. Aaron gave in. He told them, Break off the golden earrings and bring them unto me. The people brought their gold, and Aaron fashioned it with a graving tool into a molten calf. Then they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. They built an altar before it. On the next day they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. The people sat down to eat and drink, and rose up to play. On the mount the Lord spoke to Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people, which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may wax hot against them, and that I may consume them. But Moses pleaded, Lord, he said, why doth thy wrath wax hot against thy people? Turn from thy fierce wrath, and repent of this evil against thy people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. And the Lord relented. Moses descended with the 2 stone tablets in hand, written by the very finger of God. But when he saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned. He cast the tablets from his hands and shattered them at the base of the mountain. He took the golden calf, burned it in fire, ground it to powder, and scattered it on the water, then made the people drink it. Moses turned to Aaron. What did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them? Aaron answered weakly, Thou knowest the people, that they are set on mischief. I cast the gold into the fire, and there came out this calf. Then Moses stood at the gate of the camp and cried, Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come unto me. The sons of Levi gathered to him. That day judgment came upon the camp, and 3,000 men fell. The next day Moses returned to the Lord and said, O this people have sinned a great sin. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book. The Lord answered, Whosoever hath sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book. Nevertheless, in the day when I will visit their sin upon them. And Moses, humbled and sorrowful, began again to intercede. Though the people had turned aside, the Lord's mercy had not. After the sin of the golden calf, Moses sought the Lord's favor with desperate earnestness. He pitched the tent of meeting outside the camp and called it the tabernacle of the congregation. There he would speak with God, and the people would watch from their tents as the pillar of cloud descended to the entrance. Inside that tent, God spoke with Moses as a man speaks with his friend. Moses said, See, thou sayest unto me, Bring up this people, and thou hast not let me know whom thou wilt send with me. If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. And the Lord said, My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. Then Moses asked to see God's glory. The Lord said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, but thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. So God placed Moses in the cleft of a rock, covered him with his hand, and let him see his back, but not his face. Then, with new tablets of stone in hand, Moses climbed the mountain again. There the Lord proclaimed his name, the Lord God, merciful and gracious, long-suffering and abundant in goodness and truth, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin. Moses bowed down and worshipped. When he returned, his face shone with the glory of God. The people were afraid to come near him, and so he veiled his face when he spoke to them, unveiling only when he went before the Lord. Then God gave the people a task, to build a sanctuary that he might dwell among them. Speak unto the children of Israel, said the Lord, that they bring me an offering, gold and silver and brass, fine linen and goat's hair, that they may make me a sanctuary. And the people gave willingly, generously, beyond measure, so much so that Moses had to tell them to stop. Let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering. God appointed craftsmen, Bezaleel and Aholiab, filled with his spirit, with wisdom and understanding, to craft what he commanded: the ark of the covenant, the golden lampstand, the table for the bread of the presence, the altar of incense, the curtains of fine linen and blue and scarlet yarn. They built the ark, overlaid with pure gold, with 2 cherubim on the mercy seat. The lampstand was beaten from 1 piece of gold. Every detail was exact, every instruction obeyed. At last, in the first month of the 2nd year since their departure from Egypt, the tabernacle was raised. Moses inspected the work and saw that it was done just as the Lord had commanded. Then a cloud covered the tent, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not even enter, for the presence of God rested upon it. And from that day forward, when the cloud lifted, Israel journeyed, and when it stayed, they remained, for the Lord was with them. From the heights of Sinai, the cloud lifted once more, and the children of Israel set forward by stages through the wilderness. They came at last to the border of Canaan, the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There the Lord said to Moses, "Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel, of every tribe, a ruler among them." So Moses chose 12 men, one from each tribe, among them Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh. He said to them, "Get you up this way southward, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many." For 40 days the spies searched the land. They saw cities walled up to heaven, and giants, the sons of Anak. Yet they also saw abundance, grapes so large it took 2 men to carry one cluster, pomegranates and figs, flowing brooks and green hills. When they returned, the people gathered eagerly to hear their report. They said, "Surely it floweth with milk and honey." Nevertheless, the people be strong, and the cities are walled and very great. And we saw the children of Anak there. Fear rippled through the camp. But Caleb stood and cried, "Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it." Yet the other 10 said, "We be not able to go up, for they are stronger than we." And they spread fear among the people, saying, "We were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." That night the people wept. They murmured against Moses and Aaron, "Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in this wilderness? Wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword?" They said to one another, "Let us make a captain, and let us return into Egypt." Then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces, and Joshua and Caleb tore their clothes and said, "Rebel not ye against the Lord is with us, fear them not." But the people spoke of stoning them. Then the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle, and the Lord said to Moses, "How long will this people provoke me? I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them." But Moses pleaded, "Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people, according unto the greatness of thy mercy." The Lord said, "I have pardoned according to thy word. But as ye have spoken in mine ears, so will I do to you. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, and your children shall wander 40 years, after the number of the days ye searched the land." Only Caleb and Joshua would enter the land, and so the people turned back. The promise remained, but now it would wait for another generation. The journey through the wilderness wore on. The people's hearts, already heavy with fear and regret, began to stir with something darker, resentment. And among them, one man rose to challenge the order that God had established: Korah, a Levite of the family of Kohath. He gathered allies, Dathan and Abiram, sons of Reuben, and On. And they rose up with 250 leaders of the congregation, men of renown. Together they came to Moses and Aaron and said, "You have gone too far, for all in the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?" When Moses heard it, he fell on his face. Then he said to Korah and his followers, "Even tomorrow the Lord will show who is his. Take you censers, put fire therein, and incense, and it shall be that the man whom the Lord doth choose, he shall be holy." To Korah he added, "Seemeth it but a small thing unto you that the God of Israel hath separated you, to do the service of the tabernacle, and seek ye the priesthood also? but the hearts of the rebels were hard. Dathan and Abiram refused to come when summoned. "Is it a small thing," they said, "that thou hast brought us up out of a land that floweth with milk and honey to kill us in the wilderness? Wilt thou put out the eyes of these men?" The next morning, the camp stood in tense silence. Korah and his company appeared with their censers at the entrance of the tabernacle. The glory of the Lord appeared before all. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Separate yourselves from among this congregation, that I may consume them in a moment." But they fell on their faces and cried, "O God, the God of the spirits of all flesh, shall one man sin, and wilt thou be wroth with all the congregation?" So the Lord instructed Moses, "Speak unto the congregation, saying, Get you up from about the tabernacle of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram." Moses stood and declared, "Hereby ye shall know that the Lord hath sent me. If these men die the common death of all men, then the Lord hath not sent me. But if the Lord make a new thing, and the earth open her mouth and swallow them up, then ye shall understand that these men have provoked the Lord." No sooner had he spoken than the ground beneath them split open. The earth swallowed them alive, Korah, Dathan, Abiram, and all their households. Fire came out from the Lord and consumed the 250 men who offered incense. Terror seized the people. "Flee," they cried, "lest the earth swallow us also." The next day the congregation murmured again, saying, "Ye have killed the people of the Lord." But a plague broke out among them. 14,700 died before Aaron stood between the dead and the living with incense, making atonement. And so the rebellion was silenced, not by man, but by God. The years passed slowly in the wilderness. The generation that came out of Egypt grew old and died, just as the Lord had said. Their children grew up wandering, learning to follow the cloud by day and the fire by night, to trust the God of their fathers even when food or water was. Moses grew older too. His hair turned white like the desert sand, and his steps slowed, but his eyes were sharp and his voice strong. He led them still, bearing the weight of their stubborn hearts. One day the people came again with complaints. "Would God that we had died with our brethren, for there is no water." Moses and Aaron went before the Lord, and the Lord said, "Take the rod, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water." But Moses, wearied in spirit, lifted his hand and struck the rock twice with his rod. Water gushed out. The people drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "Because ye believed me not, to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them." It was a hard word. Moses did not protest. He bowed to the Lord's judgment. The journey continued, and so did the trials, battles against enemies, serpents among the camp, constant teaching, and reminders of the law. Through it all, Moses spoke faithfully to the people, urging them to keep covenant with the Lord. At last, the time came. They stood on the plains of Moab, just beyond the Jordan River. The land of promise lay in sight. Jericho gleamed in the distance. The Lord said to Moses, "Get thee up into this mountain, and behold the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, and thou shalt be gathered unto thy people." So Moses called the people together one last time. He gave them words of law, warnings, and blessings. He taught them a song, so they would not forget. He said, "Give ear, O ye heavens, and I will speak." The Lord alone did lead him, and there was no strange god with him. He blessed the tribes one by one. Then the Lord took him to Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, and there showed him the land, north and south, east and west. "This is the land which I swear unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob," said the Lord. "I have caused thee to see it with thine eyes, but thou shalt not step your feet on this land." So Moses, the servant of the Lord, died there in the land of Moab, according to the word of the Lord. He was 120 years old. His eye was not dim, nor his strength abated. The Lord buried him, and no man knows his grave to this day. And the children of Israel wept for him for 30 days. Moses was gone. The great leader who faced Pharaoh, split the sea, received the law, and walked with God for 40 years, had finished his course. Yet Israel still stood outside the land, with rivers yet to cross and battles still ahead. But God had prepared another, Joshua, the son of Nun. He had served Moses faithfully, one of the two who believed when others feared. Now the mantle of leadership rested on him. The Lord spoke to Joshua, "Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them. Be strong and of a good courage, for unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance the land. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee." Joshua took heart. He commanded the officers, "Prepare you victuals, for within 3 days ye shall pass over this Jordan." But first he sent 2 spies into Jericho. They came by night and found refuge in the house of Rahab, a harlot. The king's men searched for them, but Rahab hid the spies beneath stalks of flax on her rooftop. She said to them, "I know that the Lord hath given you the land, for we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you. The Lord your God, He is God in heaven above and in earth beneath." In return, she asked for mercy for herself and her family. The spies swore an oath, "Thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window, and gather thy family within." And so she let them down by a cord through the window, and they escaped safely. Back in the camp, the spies gave their report, "Truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land." Then came the day. The priests carried the Ark of the Covenant ahead, and the people followed. As the soles of the priests' feet touched the Jordan's edge, the waters stood still, heaping up far upstream. The people crossed on dry ground. 12 men, one from each tribe, took stones from the riverbed and set them as a memorial. Joshua said, "When your children shall ask, 'What mean these stones?' ye shall answer, 'The waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord.'" And the hearts of the kings in Canaan melted, for they knew Israel had crossed over, and their God was mighty. At Gilgal, the people renewed their covenant. They circumcised the new generation, and the Lord said, "This day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off you." That night, as Joshua neared Jericho, a man stood before him with a drawn sword. Joshua asked, "Art thou for us, or for our adversaries?" And he answered, "Nay, but as captain of the host of the Lord am I now come. Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon thou standest is holy." Joshua fell on his face and worshipped. The time had come. The land lay before them. The promise was no longer a dream. It was near enough to touch. Thus ended the journey of Moses, servant of the Most High, born among reeds, raised in a palace, forged in the wilderness, and faithful to the end. He who spoke face to face with God led a people from bondage to the brink of promise. Though he saw the land from afar, it was not for him to enter. His task was finished. The mantle passed on. Now the people stood poised at the edge of destiny. Behind them lay slavery, rebellion, and wandering. Before them flowed the Jordan, and beyond, a land flowing with milk and honey, but also giants, walled cities, and fierce resistance. And so, another leader rises, Joshua, strong and courageous, filled with the spirit of wisdom. The Lord is with him, just as he was with Moses. The conquest begins. The promise draws nearer, and the name of the Lord shall be magnified among all nations. Watch and see what the Lord will do. Stay tuned for the next journey. The story of Joshua, conquest, covenant, and the unfolding of God's promise. Subscribe to this channel now, so you'll be the first to hear the next story unfold.